Welcome to Golper Ashor with Madhubanti. Hope all of you are doing well. I have decided to recite some of stories in English for those eager listeners who are not much familiar with Bengali. It is a small initiative from my side to let them introduce with some evergreen creation done by eminent Bengali authors. Besides, I will also keep uploading Bengali audio stories on this channel. Today I will recite Bipin Chowdhury's Lapse of Memory written by Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray. It is needless to give a formal introduction about a versatile genius like Ray. The creator of immortal films, Ray was also a writer of great repute. His name also comes in the list of those personalities who excelled the world of culture with their consummate skill. Satyajit Ray will be alive in our heart through his remarkable contribution to Bengali literature and Indian films. Every Monday on his way back from work, Bipin Chowdhury would drop in at Kalicharan's in Newmarket to buy books. Crime stories, ghost stories and thrillers. He had to buy at least 5 at a time to last him through the week. He lived alone, was not a good mixer, had few friends and didn't like spending time in idle chat. Those who called in the evening got through their business quickly and left. Those who didn't show signs of living would be told around 8 o'clock by Bipin Babu that he was under doctor's orders to have dinner at 8:30. After dinner, he would rest for half an hour and then turn in with a book. This was a routine which had persisted unbroken for years. Today at Kalicharan's, Bipin Babu had the feelings that someone was observing him from close quarters. He turned round and found himself looking at a round-faced, meek-looking man who now broke into a smile. "I don't suppose you recognize me." Bipin Babu felt ill at ease. It didn't seem that he had ever encountered this man before. The face seemed quite unfamiliar. "But you are a busy man. You must meet all kinds of people all the time." "Have we met before?" asked Bipin Babu. The man looked greatly surprised. "We met every day for a whole week. I arranged for a car to take you to the Hudru Falls in 1958 in Ranchi. My name is Parimal Ghosh." "Ranchi?" Now Bipin Babu realized that it was not he but this man who was making a mistake. Bipin Babu had never been to Ranchi. He had been at the point of going several times but had never made it. He smiled and said, "Do you know who I am?" The man raised his eyebrows, bit his tongue and said, "Do I know you? Who doesn't know Bipin Chowdhury?" Bipin Babu now turned towards the bookshelves and said, "Still you are making a mistake. One often does. I have never been to Ranchi." The man now laughed aloud. "What are you saying, Mr. Chaudhary? You had a fall in Hudru and cut your right knee. I brought you iodine. I had fixed up a car for you to go to Netarhat the next day, but you couldn't because of the pain in the knee. Can't you recall anything? Someone else you know was also in Ranchi at that time. Mr. Dinesh Mukherjee, yes. You stayed in a bungalow. You said you didn't like hotel food and would prefer to have your meals cooked by a bawarchi." Mr. Mukherjee stayed with his sister. You had a big argument about the moon landing. Remember? I will tell you more. You always carried a bag with your books in it on your sightseeing trips. Am I right or not? Bipin Babu spoke quietly, his eyes still on the books. Which month in 58 are you talking about? The man said, just before the pujas. October. No, sir, said Bipin Babu. I spent puja in 58 with a friend in Kanpur. You are making a mistake. Good day. But the man didn't go, nor did he stop talking. Very strange. One evening I had tea with you on the veranda of your bungalow. You spoke about your family. You said you had no children and that you had lost your wife 10 years ago. Your only brother had died insane, which is why you didn't want to visit the mental hospital in Ranchi. When Bipin Babu had paid for the books and was leaving the shop, the man was still looking at him in utter disbelief. Bipin Babu's car was safely parked in Bartram Street by the Lighthouse Cinema. He told the driver as he got into the car, just drive by the Ganga, will you, Sitaram? Driving up the Strand Road, Bipin Babu regretted having paid so much attention to the intruder. He had never been to Ranchi, no question about it. It was inconceivable that he should forget such an incident which took place only 6 or 7 years ago. He had an excellent memory, unless, Bipin Babu said, read, unless he was losing his mind. But how could that be? He was working daily in his office. It was a big firm, and he had a responsible job. He wasn't aware of anything ever going seriously wrong. Only today he had spoken for half an hour at an important meeting. And yet that man knew a great deal about him. How? He even seemed to know some intimate details. The bag of books, his wife's death, brother's insanity. The only mistake was about his having gone to Ranchi. No, not a mistake, a deliberate lie. In 58, during the pujas, he was in Kanpur at his friend Haridas Bakshi's place. All Bipin Babu had to do was write to. No, there was no way of writing to Haridas. Bipin Babu suddenly remembered that Haridas had not left his address. But where was the need for proof? If it is so happened that the police were trying to pin a crime on him which had taken place in Ranchi in 58, he might have needed to prove he hadn't been there. He himself was fully aware that he hadn't been to Ranchi, and that was that. The river breeze was pressing, and yet a slight discomfort lingered in Bipin Babu's mind. Around Hastings, Bipin Babu had the sudden notion of rolling up his trousers and taking a look at his right knee. There was the mark of an old inch-long cut. It was impossible to tell when the injury had occurred. Had he never had a fall as a boy and cut his knee? He tried to recall such an incident, but couldn't. Then Bipin Babu suddenly thought of Dinesh Mukherjee. The man had said that Dinesh was in Ranchi at the same time. The best thing surely would be to ask him. He lived quite near, in Beninandan Street. What about going right now? But then, if he had really never been to Ranchi, what would Dinesh think if Bipin Babu asked for a confirmation? He would probably conclude Bipin Babu was going nuts. No, it would be ridiculous to ask him. and he knew how ruthless Dinesh's sarcasm could be. Sipping a cold drink in his air-conditioned living room, Bipin Babu felt at ease again. Such a nuisance the man was. He probably had nothing else to do, so he went about getting into other people's hair. After dinner, snuggling in bed with one of the new thrillers, Bipin Babu forgot all about the man in Newmarket. Next day in the office, Bipin Babu noticed that with every passing hour, the previous day's encounter was occupying his mind more and more. That look of round eyed surprise on that round face, the disbelieving snigger. If the man knew so much about the details of Bipin Babu's life, how could he be so wrong about the Ranchi trip? Just before lunch, at 5 minutes to 1, Bipin Babu couldn't check himself anymore. He opened the phone book. He had to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee. It was better to settle question over the phone. At least the embarrassment on his face wouldn't show. 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 6. Bipin Babu dialed the number. Hello? Is that Dinesh? This is Bipin here. Well, what's the news? I just wanted to find out if you recall an incident which took place in 58. 58? What incident? Were you in Calcutta right through that year? That's the first thing I have got to know. Wait, just a minute. 58. Just let me check in my diary. For a minute there was silence. Bipin Babu could feel that his heartbeat had gone up. He was sweating a little. Hello? Yes, I have got it. I had been out twice. Where? Once in February, nearby, to Krishnanagar to our nephew's wedding. And then. But you would know about this one, the trip to Ranchi. You were there too. That's all. But what's all this sleuthing about? No, I just wanted to. Okay, anyways. Thanks. Bipin Babu slammed the receiver down and gripped his head with his hands. He felt his head swimming. A chill seemed to spread over his body. There were sandwiches in the tiffin box, but he didn't feel like eating them. He had lost his appetite completely. After lunchtime, Bipin Babu realized that he couldn't possibly carry on sitting at his desk and working. This was the first time something like this had happened in his 25 years with the firm. He had a reputation for being a tireless, conscientious worker. The men who worked under him all held him in awe. In the worst moments of crisis, even when faced with the most acute problems, Bipin Babu had always kept his cool and weathered the storm. But today his head was in a whirl. Back home at 2:30, Bipin Babu shut himself up in his bedroom, lay down in bed, and tried to gather his wits together. He knew that it was possible to lose one's memory through an injury to the head, but he didn't know of a single instance of someone remembering everything except one particular incident, and a fairly recent and significant one at that. He had always wanted to go to Ranchi. To have gone there, done things, and not to remember was something utterly impossible.
Thank you for listening. The rest part of the story will be on the next video.